It is now my pleasure to introduce today's commencement speaker. He served as the 25th president of the University of Massachusetts System for nearly 8 years. During his time as president, he emphasized access and affordability for students, focused on research and innovation, and championed a capital program aimed at providing new facilities and much-needed renovations on all 5 of our campuses. He has always promoted the critical role that the university plays as this state's innovation engine. Prior to becoming the system president, he joined the University of Massachusetts in 2001 as the founding CEO of UMass Online, the system's acclaimed distance education program. Before joining UMass, he was the J. Eric Johnson Distinguished Professor of Physics, Engineering, Science, Information Technology, and Management at Rensselaer Polytech Institute in Troy, New York, where he also served as Dean, Research Center Director, and Provost. He has also been on the faculty at the University of Maryland, College Park, and an office of the American Associations of Physics Teachers, the American Institute of Plastics, and the American Physical Society. He holds a bachelor's degree from Thiel College in Greenville, Pennsylvania, and a master's and doctorate degrees in physics from Kent State University in Ohio. He has extensive experience in technology development, including the national level on the competitiveness and economic prosperity. He has an impressive track record for successful research and development, resulting in spin-off companies as well as links between higher education, government, and business. He also has very good judgment. He chose to come back to the faculty. He had a choice of all the UMass campuses, and he came back to the faculty here at UMass Lowell. And that was a good decision. He brings a wealth of experience in technology management, innovation, and entrepreneurship to our campus. His work in international and interdisciplinary programs will complement many of UMass Lowell's most important initiatives. And a second example of his tremendous wisdom and judgment, in 2007, he chose me to be the chancellor at UMass Lowell. Ladies and President Emeritus of the University of Massachusetts, Jack Wilson.
Chancellor Meehan, and other distinguished guests, that was a wonderful introduction. Thank you. You even had a twist ending. We were just sitting there saying, but he didn't mention the thing that I did. That was the which was to appoint Marty Meehan, Chancellor of UMass Lowell. So I'm very pleased to be sharing the podium with all these distinguished guests. But then we always get graduation backward. We're up here in all the finery, all the bling, you know, see that shiny metal he's got on and everything. But it's not about us. It's about you. You are the distinguished guests here today. You, our graduates, are our distinguished guests. And I'm really glad to see that we probably got a lot of family and friends of the graduates here. It's good to have you join us this afternoon. You know, behind every distinguished graduate, there is a proud and perhaps pleasantly surprised. So we're glad that you joined us as well. Thank you. I hope, I'm back to the graduates now. I hope you enjoyed did. You know, approaches to going to graduate school. The first approach is, okay, you want to go to graduate school, you're going to get there, you're going to get it done, you're going to get out, you're going to get a job, right? And frankly, that's the way I went to graduate school. But it turned out it was different for me by the end. In fact, it was so different, I loved it so they had to throw me out. My major professor came in to me one day and he said, Jack, it's time for you to graduate, to get your doctorate. And I said, no, Dr. Urich, I have 3 or 4 more things I want to do. He says, Jack, you got 8 papers. What are you doing? You trying to get a 20-year watch or something? I said, no, I just want to work on this a little more. He said, I'm cutting off your financial aid. I said, I'm ready to graduate. So anyway, he did the right thing. I'm glad he did it. But I hope you enjoyed graduate school as much as I enjoyed graduate school, that you almost had to be kicked out to go on. But I could tell you, having been pushed out of the nest, it was good. I'm glad he did it, and what a life it's been. So the text that I want to use today, and by the way, none of the speakers coordinated our text, and you heard the magnificent speech by the student speaker, Jessica. What a job. She ended up with saying, go out and change the world. And the text I chose, why not change the world? It may sound a bit arrogant, but it's an eminently reasonable question that many are asking today to be done. Now, your family and friends may think it's a bit ambitious, but really it's not. Because your graduate education has prepared you well to do just that. And besides, I can tell you that countless UMass graduates the world in very profound. Many of our alumni are out there right now. You know, perhaps you studied government or political science like your chancellor, Marty Meehan. He made quite a mark on the government world. Fingerprints are all over. Whoa. Talk with my hands. His fingerprints are all over legislation that has changed the way. Now he's driving UMass Lowell to new success. But that said, there's still a lot to be done in Washington. Last fall, I served as the president of the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the United States Senate. I heard many prominent leaders come to me and lament that the Senate is a very different place since the senator had passed away. Some are proposing rather the entrenched ways that the Senate does its business. Some are calling for an end to the filibuster. 50% supermajority required to pass any bill. Others are calling for an end to automatic holds on presidential appointments that have strong majority support. Some of you may have studied these issues, and perhaps one of you will find a way to restore effective government where so many today see dysfunction. But perhaps you studied finance or business, like Robert Manning, who graduated from UMass Lowell to become the CEO of MFS Securities. There they go. Outstanding. Graduated from UMass Lowell to become the CEO of MFS Securities, former chair of the board of the University of Massachusetts. His future wife, Donna, studied nursing here, went on to serve as an oncology nurse at Boston Medical Center for over 25 years. And together, they made a multi-million-dollar donation for student scholarships at UMass Lowell to ensure that both business and nursing students could have the same or better opportunities today that Rob and Donna had at UMass Lowell a couple decades ago. UMass Lowell changed their lives, and these two have changed the world for the better, and now you can applaud. You know, thank goodness so many engineers studied textile engineering, plastics engineering over the last 5 decades, because their fingerprints are all over both industries. Today, those roots support a research and business incubation effort through the Mass Medical Device Development Center and through 4 in the United States National Science Foundation nanotechnology centers in the United States, 1 here. And by the way, another one out at UMass Amherst. UMass is doing pretty well. I have no doubt some of this research will your descendants. The flexible solar cells pioneered here at UMass Lowell are being incorporated into tents that power themselves when used in regions without power. The research on industrial use of toxic substances has led to alternatives that are greener today, will be even greener tomorrow with new research. So I don't know how each of you plans to change the world. I only know that some of you will. And I know that our society and our community are. Now, again, Jessica really got it there. She talked a lot about Tom Friedman in his latest book, talking about how we invented the world and then kind of dropped the ball. Because around the world, other communities are looking at what we have here in Massachusetts or in some other areas of the United States, and they are stealing our secret sauce. They're doing what we have always done at the same time that we're stepping back from some of the investments we need to make. Unfortunately, at the same time that governments and corporations expect us to educate the workforce, create new products and industries from our research, universities have to cope with reduced funding and demonstrate increased reliance on entrepreneurial activity. Now, everyone around the world knows that local and global economic development seems to nucleate around great research universities, but few seem to have a deep appreciation for the mechanisms by which we do that. At the core of the process, we have you, our graduates, who are taking what they've learned, and most importantly, what you're continuing to learn, into the workplace and the world. Well, I wanted to show you that this year happens to be the 150th anniversary of the Morrill Act, which founded the great state universities under the Land Grant Act. And Justin Morrill wrote the founding act, and I saw cities back to being more disconnected. I'm paraphrasing what was said, because that's the way I read it. And then I read what Justin Morrill said, 1862. He founded the public research universities in order to promote the liberal and practical education of the industrial classes in the several pursuits and professions in life. That's right. He wanted the students to go out and change the world. He wasn't calling for the creation of ivory towers. He was calling for the creation of connected communities of learning and research, connected, that is, to the most important needs of the communities, and those needs are always changing. We could put Morrill in contact. We can go back to 1824, RPI, not far from here, First Technological University, founded for the purpose of Morrill lived in the same region. It looks like he may have cribbed some of that, but that's okay. It was a good idea. Imitation is the most sincere. And say, what did they see as their biggest social problem of the day? You know what it was? New towns were going up all over Massachusetts. They couldn't find ministers for their churches. So Harvard was founded to deal with the community problem of that day, to create ministers for the churches. So this connection of the university to the community is a deep one. It's not about being an ivory tower. And in 1980, the Bayh-Dole Act echoed that same kind of thing when they called on universities to encourage maximum to promote collaboration. So all the way from 1862 to 1980, and by the way, that act kicked off the tremendous boom we've seen, the commercialization, the IT revolution, the biomedical revolution, because of an intelligent act, again, of a legislator. But we'd be foolish not to notice, as Jessica's pointed out, that others looked at what we've done and said we can do it too. First, it happened in the United States, places like North Carolina. North Carolina State, and other universities in that, and we create the Research Triangle Park, we can change this state, and they did. Texas created the Semiconductor Research Center and changed that state. But other countries outside the United States looked at this. India created the Indian Institute. Fudan, Shanghai Jiaotong, and they built them into competitive world-class research institutions. Germany had the Max Planck Institutes and the Fraunhofer Centers, which, by the way, are coming to Massachusetts now. It's a whole new global world. Innovation is fueling these new economies all over the world, and you, our graduates, have the power and the challenge of working in a world where you'll be competing with and collaborating with others who've been prepared in research universities that have been modeled explicitly on the best in the United States. Public research universities that address the challenges facing society and prepare students who could solve those problems and change the world. So to those who are calling for a return to the good old days, the ivory tower, they're wrong on history, they're wrong on government, they're wrong on education, and they're wrong on the sociology of the public research university. You, as graduates of this university, carry a rich heritage of connecting to the world. This is a special place. It's always been on the right side of that argument. You could see it in the history of this city, state, and region, symbolized by the canals and the national park that threads through the area. You can see it living today in the presence of the UMass Lowell Inn and Conference Center, right in the center of Lowell. The Sangha Center that has become a cultural hub. Visible signs of growth at this university, also mentioned by Jessica, how much it has changed since she first came here. Construction of new academic buildings, new residence halls, new parking garages. You could see the growth of graduate programs that you've taken advantage of. 19 new professional science master's degree options, new leadership options in every engineering master's program. You can note the recent approval by the Board of Higher Education of new PhD programs in business administration, criminology, criminal justice, and global studies, as well as new master's degree programs in peace and conflict studies, autism studies, and information technology. And the enrollment has gone up by more than 35% in the last 4 years. And graduate admissions are running 24% ahead of 1 year ago. So you're hooked up with a growing institution, and you're part of that growth. So a few minutes ago, you heard those inspiring remarks from Jessica, and that really makes me feel that we're up to the challenge of changing the world. I wish I had time to hear more of you speak, because we're counting on you to lead us in the years ahead. Because just as UMass Lowell is growing, I challenge each of you to use those new graduate credentials to continue to personally grow and professionally grow. So you, today's graduates, are the health professionals, engineers, research scientists, government leaders, community psychologists, K-12 school leaders, computer scientists, business entrepreneurs, and university professors, and many other things I probably left out, and I'm sorry for that. I'll apologize. People on whom we, as your previous generation, will rely to make this a better world for generations to follow. Why not change the world? You've already answered this question in your hearts, your minds, and in your work. Your families, your communities are counting on you, and so am I. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing all you do. Thank you.